Starting the journey of growing your own food can be quite overwhelming at times, especially when in the very beginning you're not even sure what you're going to grow in your garden. It can be difficult walking into a hardware store and seeing racks and racks of seeds, or looking through seed catalogues and not knowing where to begin. So I'd like to talk today about how to choose what to grow in your garden when you're a beginner. There'll be specific plant recommendations later in this video, but I'd like to start out by talking about my 3 main guiding principles. 1. Grow what you like. 2. Grow things based on your conditions. 3. Grow what makes economic sense. Let's start at the beginning. Grow what you like. The whole point of growing your own food is to grow food for you to eat. So there's no point choosing things that you don't enjoy eating. For example, I like most vegetables, but green beans are the enemy. Those horrible little skinny ones that are always boiled to hell and come out grey-green colour. So I would never grow them. A good place to start here is by looking at your own fridge. What's in your vegetable drawer? What do you buy every week? What produce would you consume if it was more affordable or accessible in your area? From this, you can make a list of the things you like and work from there. Guiding principle number 2, grow what works for your conditions. What do I mean by conditions? Well, it's things like soil type, climate, and even your lifestyle. Soil type. Is your garden clay or is it sandy soil? There's lots of ways to test this, but the easiest one is just by taking some soil, wetting it, and seeing how it behaves. If you can roll it into a sausage shape and it maintains that shape, then you've got clay soil. If it refuses to roll but will let you form it into a ball, then you've most likely got sandy soil type. If you're starting from a parking lot and building upwards with lasagna mulching or raised beds, then your soil type is obviously dependent on what you bring in. Usually in this case, it will be a more compost heavy soil. All soil types benefit from the addition of organic materials that have been well rotted, such as manure, compost, wood chip. Anything that helps increase the amount of organic material will help increase the nutrients available to your plant. What else do I mean by conditions? Well, I mentioned climate. If you live in Arizona, you probably are not going to have a good time trying to grow watercress in your garden unless a creek happens to run through it. Similarly, I live in the UK. We do sometimes have cold winters, and some tender fruits and vegetables are just not going to work in this climate. If you live in the US, there are zone maps you can look at which will help you determine what's suitable for your area. If you live in other spaces like here, a good place to start is by looking at what's actually available in your local shops. And when you read in a seed catalogue or on the back of a seed packet, does it say grow under glass? If so, you're going to need a greenhouse. Another condition to take into consideration is garden size. Not every vegetable lends itself well to a small garden. For example, if you have just a yard to grow in, it's probably best to stick to things like salads, cabbages, small tomatoes, even varieties of things that can be grown in hanging baskets. Conversely, a large garden allows you to explore things like having a whole patch of sweet corn, practicing the 3 sisters, or just growing pumpkins that tend to sprawl everywhere. You'll know your space best after a year or 2 of growing, when you've had the chance to observe it, see how the light hits, see any cold spots, and work out how to use the space well. So all I can recommend is that you keep going in your growing journey and learn more each year. Lastly, under conditions, I mentioned lifestyle. When you're growing something like tomatoes, for example, at their peak, when they're fruiting, they need regular, consistent watering. Otherwise, the fruits will split or rot. So if you're the kind of person who likes to take a 2-week holiday in the middle of July, you're probably not going to have a good time growing tomatoes. Principle number 3, Grow what makes economic sense. This one is a bit trickier. It's very dependent on where you live, even just down to your neighbourhood, what transport is available to you, whether there are big supermarkets in your area, are you in a food desert? Let me explain. For example, at most UK supermarkets, potatoes are very, very affordable. You can buy a big sack of them quite cheaply. So based on that, it might not make economic sense for you to devote space in your garden to growing potatoes. However, if you rely on public transport or you cycle or walk to the supermarket, you might not want to be laden down all the time with sacks of potatoes. Whereas if you grow them in your own garden, they're much more accessible to you. Many things we're able to grow in our own gardens, harvest and eat straight away are incredibly expensive in supermarkets. Things like fresh mange tout peas, edible flowers, sprouting broccoli, heirloom organic tomatoes, all of these things can really get pricey from shops. So by growing them at home, you've reduced that cost. It's always a concern when we're seed shopping and see that total going up, up, up. Especially when you're a beginner and you're not sure what's going to work best for you in your garden. My advice on this front is to make friends with other gardeners, whether it's online or in your local neighbourhood, and that way you can do seed swaps or offer to purchase, say, half of a packet that they've bought. It's really wonderful to be part of a gardening community. I've had friends from across the UK send me seeds, and in turn I've sent them on to other people. This cuts down costs and allows me to experiment with different varieties that I wouldn't normally have picked. You never know, you might find a new favourite from someone else's seeds. Now down to my personal recommendations. All of these are based on growing in the UK. Sprouting broccoli. This used to be the main type of broccoli available in the UK until the Calabrese tree head style was developed in the late 20th century for ease of mechanical harvest. The best thing about sprouting broccoli is that you don't have to wait for the sprouts to be eating the plant. You can harvest leaves from the sides throughout the year. It has a really long growing season and they can be quite hardy too. So even if your area experiences frosts, you'll still be able to eat leaves from the plant. Radishes. Radishes are famously a very, very quick crop. You can have radishes on the table in as little as 5 or 6 weeks, so it's really satisfying and gives you a sense of already becoming a good kitchen gardener. I like the variety Sparkler and also White Icicle, which makes sort of mini mouli daikon style ones. Mange tout and sugar snap peas are not only expensive in supermarkets, but have often been imported from South America, adding to huge food miles, CO2 in the atmosphere, and lots of plastic packaging. They are so delicious from your own plant and incredibly easy to grow as long as you offer them support. You'll love being able to go out and pick your own, eat them straight off the plant. They might not even make it into the kitchen. Perpetual spinach allows you to have a patch of spinach that you can just cut over and over through the season. Sometimes it will even roll over to the next year. It's a very versatile vegetable. Pick it young as baby spinach for salads, or harvest the older leaves for soups, stews and stir fries. Sunflowers. Who doesn't like looking out the window and seeing a beautiful cheery sunflower blowing in the breeze? They are wonderful not just as decorations in your garden, but can also provide living support for other plants such as runner beans and peas. Will help attract pollinators to your plot, and if you pick the right variety, will also provide tasty sunflower seeds. Garlic. Homegrown garlic is nothing like the stuff you get in the supermarket. The flavour is just incomparable. It packs such a punch. One great thing about it as well is that you can plant both in autumn and in spring. So if you've missed a season of growing over the summer, you can get that garlic in the ground in September and October. It's very low maintenance with low water and nutrient needs and just fun to harvest. Greyhound cabbage. This variety is named for its speedy nature, quickly forming beautiful pointed cabbage heads. It's a great summer cabbage and can be used in coleslaw, salads, soups, stews, stir fries, everything. incredibly versatile and quite pretty plants as well. Mint. This herb is infamous for its inability to be destroyed. So if you plant mint, be prepared to have it in your garden long term. Its hardy nature makes it excellent for a beginner gardener. And if, like me, you enjoy fresh mint tea throughout the summer or fresh mint in your mojito cocktails, it's well worth growing. Just plant, forget, and harvest when you need it. Nasturtiums. Another flower on my list. I love these. The beautiful orange flowers bring so much joy to a garden, and both the flower and leaf are edible. They're just delicious, and their lovely trailing habit means that you can use them as ground cover or grow them up trellises and nets. And lastly, I think every gardener should try rhubarb early on in their garden career. Pick a good spot, manure it well, and dig that crown in. Rhubarb provides excellent levels of vitamin C, and depending on the variety you get, can produce all the way from February through to August. Not always easy to find at supermarkets and often overpriced. It's a really good choice to try, and its perennial nature means that it will come back year after year after year. So it's really looking towards the future in your garden. I hope you found this video interesting and useful to help you decide what to pick to grow. Are there any plants you think I've missed in my recommendation list? What's your favourite thing been to grow so far? Please leave it in the comments below and I'll get back to you. Bye! And 3, I have forgotten number 3. What is number 3? Simply starting can be quite overwhelming. I can hear an aeroplane. See, I've been sending seeds all over the world. Don't tell the invasive species commissions. Red kite just flew over. Fucking bad.